Okay, so today's lesson is going to talk about or go through some vocabulary on ways to describe different types of data. All right, and you'll see that each pair uh, is basically mutually exclusive. The first pair is qualitative versus quantitative, and like anything, you can figure out what the word means by looking at its derivative. So qualitative, we're talking about the quality, and we're describing data by using words, while quantitative, we're using numbers. So in one sense, we're talking about the quality of something, and the other, we're talking about its numerical value. Univariate and bivariate, very simple. Look at the prefix. Uni, one variable. Bivariate, two variables. Okay. So let's just go through these examples. So if we're talking about presidents and their places of birth, that's qualitative. If we're talking about the number of people living in poverty, that's quantitative. If we're talking about the number of votes cast in an election, that's quantitative. And if we're talking about your favorite places for vacation, that's qualitative. Now, let's determine if we have bivariate or univariate. 3-year returns for a mutual fund. It's only talking about the returns. The fact that it's 3 years doesn't matter. That's univariate, one piece of data. Now we're comparing the per capita gross domestic product and the life expectancy. So that's two pieces of data. So that's bivariate. Gestation period of an animal and its life expectancy. That's comparing two things. That's bivariate. And in the pulse rate of people jogging, that's univariate. Okay. All right. Now, what we want to talk about next is the creation of what's called a histogram. And you've done this before, okay? And just want to make sure something that is quite often asked on the Regents, they like to see if you can either understand what data is given to you in a histogram or if you can prepare one yourself. So there's certain things that we have to remember to make sure that we do, otherwise we lose credit. So we have ages of children at a park, okay? And they tell us there's 15 of them. Now, sometimes they give us the interval. Other times they leave it up to us. So a couple of things about intervals. First thing is your interval has to encompass all of the data. So our lowest value is 1, our highest value is 13. So we know I have to go at least from 1 to 13. Your intervals can be below and above your data set values. Okay, so in other words, it can be greater than 13. The key is you have to have equal intervals. In other words, I can't have an interval from 1 to 5 and then 6 to 8 or something like that. The data inside the interval doesn't have to be equal, but the interval range has to be. So this should be pretty apparent that we're going to go from 1 to 5, 6 to 10, and 11 to 15. So that our intervals are intervals of 5. Now, the way to do this, go through each piece of data, cross it off, put a tally. That's what a tally means. Okay? 7, 6, 8, 9, 5 again, 13, 2. A little tedious watching me do this, but nothing else to do. So we have 6, 7, and 2. Make sure they add up to the 15, that you didn't drop something. All right, now, to prepare your histogram, a couple of things. You need to title everything here, okay? So the title of this We're children at a park. My x-axis is whatever the data is. In this case, it's age or ages. The left side is always frequency. So you could start right up against the left side, or you can space it out. That's up to you. I've seen both. Okay. Since we only go from 1 to, or 2 to 7, we can count by ones. And let me reorient this since it's already off. Apologize for you having to watch me orient the board, but okay. So since this is, we can go, so that'll be 1. Okay, so 1, 2. Let me see if I can get this to move over a little. Close that. No, I can't because it's in. All right. Well, you'll get the idea that I will be numbering this. They'll be counting by 1 to 5. Now, what you need is that your bars have to be the same width. We're only going to have 3 of them because there's only 3 intervals. So I'm going to start off a little bit. I'm trying to start off a little bit, but all right. So ages 1 to 5 go up to 6. Just here. Wow, this orientation is really bad. Sorry. And I made them 3 wide here. So that's 1 to 5. Now the other thing, your bars have to be connected. 6 to 10 and 11 to 15. You can't have any space between your bars. It's not a bar graph, it's a histogram. Okay? And on top of it, if you have an interval that has 0 values, you have to include that interval. You cannot exclude it because you have to tell people that there's no data in that interval. Okay? So this is what's called a regular histogram. We're going to work on what's called a cumulative histogram in one of our subsequent lessons.